Let's try this again. Apparently my first take of this recording ended up shutting off out of nowhere. There was some problem with my camera and the memory card or something like that, but I gotta start this all over again, so let's just do it. Welcome to the 7 albums I hated in 2019 list. I know you're probably looking at the title and wondering why I didn't just call it the worst albums of 2019. One, simply because I'm not really an objective critic, I'm more subjective, and I think music is really hard for me to be objective with. And two, there are some albums on this list that I did not like that a lot of other people liked, and I feel like putting worst albums of 2019 in the title to me kind of indicates some form of objectivity, like these are definitively the worst. So instead I just decided to retitle it, and I know that 7 seems like a weird number of albums, but one I listened to a lot less this year just because moving from writing on a blog to doing YouTube videos was a bit more time consuming, so I was more picky choosy about the albums I listened to, and also there was just not as many exciting albums this year for me to review. Some of the ones that could have easily made the list for a lot of other people, like Nav's Bad Habits or Chance the Rapper's The Big Day, I actually didn't hate enough to put on the list. I know I'm one of the 5 people on the planet that actually liked Chance the Rapper's The Big Day, and there were some albums that probably could have made the list that I just skipped over, like DJ Khaled's latest record or Chris Brown's latest record, that I just didn't really feel like going anywhere near. So yeah, 7 albums that I hated in 2019. Let's just get straight into the list. Coming in at number 7, perhaps one of the most disappointing albums of the year, I have to go with Kanye West's latest record, Jesus is King. I know it might be easy to say that my critiques for this record were related to the religious themes or anything like that, but really that wasn't my problem with the album. My big issue here is that it's far behind Kanye's past work in terms of production and in terms of his performances, some of which are pretty laughable and pretty cringy too. To me, the problem with the record is that many of the tracks here feel like they have no structure. They just kind of feel like B-sides or unfinished tracks that make me wonder, with how much this record was being delayed, what the hell was Kanye doing with it for so long that all we got was this? So yeah, definitely a disappointing record, and if Kanye is really gonna do a heel turn into religious music, I just hope that whatever comes next is a little more substantial than what was given to us here. At number 6, I'm gonna keep my sum up on this record short because unfortunately the artist behind it is no longer with us. That is Juice WRLD's latest record, Death Race for Love. Unfortunately, while the record did have a few interesting tracks, I felt like there just wasn't enough to hold together a record of this length. 22 tracks was just too long. There was too much filler and not enough that really hit the highs of his first record. But I'm pretty much going to leave the sum up at that because unfortunately, as many of you guys may know already, Juice WRLD has passed away, and it's a shame because not only was he a very talented artist that I know could have bounced back from this, but also just because it seemed like he was just a genuinely good person, and it's a shame we had to lose such a good person and artist at such a young age. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Juice WRLD, RIP, you will absolutely be missed. At number 5, a lot of people weren't happy that I didn't like this record. That is Future with Future Hendrix Presents The Wizard. Yeah, I know Future is a very influential artist, and I feel like a lot of the current wave of rappers wouldn't be here without what he did, but this record to me just doesn't show off enough of his potential. I feel like it just goes on too long, and an album of this length, being 20 tracks, just gets too repetitive too quick. It goes on too long. There's some cool beat switches that kind of make me wonder why the first halves of songs were so boring, and to me it just unfortunately doesn't do anything that stands out from Future's other records. At number 4, this was a late year album that ended up just barely making it onto the list. That is Trippie Redd's latest mixtape, A Love Letter to You 4. To me, while listening to this, I just felt like Trippie's spark was gone. I know he's a very versatile artist, but to me this just feels like 21 tracks of him mostly phoning it in, wasting some relatively decent production on vocal performances that don't really do a whole lot, and picking some pretty bad features as well. It's to the point where I feel like after hearing this and hearing his exclamation mark album, which was not bad, just disappointing, I feel like Trippie just needs a break. He's starting to embrace the whole quantity over quality thing, releasing too many projects at once, and it's starting to show with records like this. At number 3, what a downfall this guy had. It is Logic with his latest album, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. To me, this thing felt like character assassination. For a while, it seemed like Logic was the kind of rapper that he may not make the best hip-hop out there, but you could still cheer for him because it seems like he's a good guy. To me, though, it felt really hard to root for him after this album. It felt like he was just trying to kill the nice guy persona and just become too much of a bad guy, to the point where he makes himself just seem too unsympathetic. Like when he's bragging about a suicide awareness song and using it as a punchline, kind of admitting that he only made it for clout. Bad idea when you're making a suicide awareness song. Or when he says that like he wishes he was bipolar because Kanye is, and apparently if he was bipolar he would actually make good music. Things like that are just really what make me cheer against this project. Never Never mind the weak production, the fact that Logic is still someone that raps fast but doesn't have anything interesting to say, or that he doesn't pick great features, but this has some of Logic's worst writing that I've ever heard and perhaps some of the worst hip-hop lyrics this year. It's really disappointing, and it's crazy because if you told me that Logic was going to end up on the worst list last year when I heard Bobby Tarantino 2, I might have thought you were lying. But as it turns out, he makes it on the list twice because at number 2, we have Logic's soundtrack album, Supermarket. Yeah, he's got 2 projects on this list. Figure that one out. Yeah, to me, this record is just a mind-numbing, boring mishmash of acoustic drab that really doesn't fit to Logic's style. I haven't read the book, so I don't know if it makes sense in the context of the book, but this is just super duper bland guitar music that, while I appreciate Logic trying to change his style, doesn't work for him. And to me, it just kind of feels like he's at this creative rut where he's just trying to put out too much without caring about what he's putting out. In essence, he's becoming the person that he rapped about not wanting to become long ago. 2019 has been a disappointing year for Logic. And at number 1, the album that I hated the most in 2019. I know it's a bit of an easy target, but a lot of other people hated it and I did too. That is Doug Walker and Rob Scallon's record, Nostalgia Critic's The Wall. Basically a parody album full of covers based on Pink Floyd's The Wall. This thing fails at even being entertaining trash. Because I'm sure Nostalgia Critic had it in mind to make this record bad, like on purpose, but it kind of fails at even being so bad it's good because the critiques aren't even funny. Like, it'd be one thing if this thing was bad but still entertaining, but no. It's complete mind-numbing dreck that really shows us that the Nostalgia Critic has no musical chops whatsoever, that he's carried by Rob Scallon's kind of decent recreations of Pink Floyd's original instrumentals, and that he is willing to succumb to cringe by bringing Corey Taylor from Slipknot onto the record to sing the SpongeBob SquarePants theme. I've said it before and I'll say it again, I wish I could go back to living in a world where that didn't exist. Yeah, I know it's an easy target. Nostalgia Critic probably made it just so that it could top worst of the year and worst of the decade lists. And you know what? It's terrible enough that it's gonna top mine too. So way to go, Doug Walker. You did it. Yeah, that's the 7 albums that I hated the most in 2019. I'm sure a lot of you guys may agree, some of you may disagree. I want to know what you guys think though. What were some of the albums that you hated the most this year? What would be your worst list? You can give me 7, you can give me 10, whatever. Whatever albums really stick to your mind, what were the ones that you thought were the worst this year? Leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's keep this civil and have some fun, of course. If you want to hit like and subscribe, thanks. If not, I'm no beggar, so I'm not gonna hound you for it. And my albums I loved in 2019 list is going to be coming right after this, so stay tuned for that. But until then, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.